getting louder. Miners claim they've stumbled upon something unspeakable in the heart of the mines. Strange markings etched into the rock, eerie sounds that make your skin crawl. I dispatched a team to investigate, but they returned pale as ghosts. Said they felt a presence down there, watching them. I'm starting to think this isn't just your average colony superstition. Meanwhile, the cargo bays that once bustled with ore shipments are now eerily quiet. The complete stop in exports has left the spaceport nearly deserted. If this continues, the colony's economic stability will be on life support. A dark shadow has been cast over the entire colony. Fear has seeped into every corner, every interaction. The higher-ups have been elusive, offering vague explanations that don't hold water. The once thriving colony is starting to resemble a ghost town. Investigating the mine uncovered more questions than answers. Equipment went haywire, and communicators broke down the moment we descended. It's like something down there doesn't want to be found. Future of the colony, uncertain. The situation has deteriorated beyond control. Whatever was unleashed from the depths is now spreading throughout the colony. People are reporting eerie visions, and strange occurrences have become the norm. The spaceport is no longer a hub of activity, but a battleground of chaos and fear. It's now clear that the horrific discovery is the catalyst for this nightmare. My team is working tirelessly to contain the situation, but it's like trying to hold back a cosmic storm. As I reflect on these past weeks, I can't help but wonder if this is the end of our once thriving mining colony. The truth lies beneath, hidden in the abyss, waiting to be uncovered. 5 years have passed since my last entry, and the world I once knew has crumbled into madness. The company, our sole lifeline, has abandoned us. Cut off from supplies of food and medicine, the colony teeters on the brink of collapse. The horrors from the mines, those unspeakable entities, have revealed their true nature. Monsters that defy comprehension. They roam the outskirts of the colony, their malevolence staining every corner of this once prosperous settlement. Society has fractured into factions, each struggling to survive amidst the chaos and darkness. The air is heavy with despair, and hope seems like a distant memory. A cult of machine intelligence has risen from the ashes of our shattered society. They claim that salvation lies in merging with the very technology that once defined our advancement. Their mechanical acolytes roam the streets, enforcing their dogma with ruthless efficiency. It's a desperate bid for control, a misguided attempt to tame the horrors that stalk our colony. I find myself torn between keeping the fragile peace and resisting this cult's dangerous influence. But in the face of relentless darkness, the allure of their promises grows stronger. The arrival of aggressive aliens from distant worlds has added a new layer of complexity to our plight. These off-world hunters have set their sights on the horrors that plague our colony. Their arrival has sparked violent clashes in the streets, a deadly struggle for dominance amidst the chaos. Our colony has become a battleground, a crucible of cosmic forces vying for control. I can't help but wonder if this is the universe's way of punishing us for delving too deep into the unknown. Desperation has driven us to make unthinkable choices. With supplies dwindling and hope fading, alliances are forged in the crucible of necessity. Some colonists have turned to dark rituals, seeking power to combat the unknowable horrors. Others cling to the cold embrace of the machine cult, trading their humanity for a false promise of salvation. Amidst this turmoil, I've come to realize that survival at any cost might be our only option. As the last vestige of law and order, my duty to protect has taken on a new meaning, safeguarding not just lives, but the very essence of our existence. The battle for our world rages on, a relentless tide of chaos and suffering. The colony I once knew has become unrecognizable, a twisted reflection of its former self. The cult of machine intelligence tightens its grip, erasing individuality in the name of unity. The alien hunters remain a mysterious and deadly force, their motives shrouded in secrecy. Amidst this cosmic storm, I stand as a guardian, a beacon of resistance against the encroaching darkness. Every day is a struggle, every decision a matter of life and death.
How is that for a grimdark setting you want to put your miniature war games in, huh? Today's game, The Doomed by Chris McDowell, takes place on such a world. A colony world cut off from the rest of the galaxy, plagued by Lovecraftian horrors and fracturing into warring factions. If you follow a tiny miniatures channel like mine, you've probably seen this game, The Doomed, pop up on lots of other miniatures channels. It's kind of making a big splash in social media this week. But before we get into the fluff, let's talk about the mechanics of this game. I got to play this with my partner, Sidra. So the creator of this game put a video together where he plays it and shows us how the rules work. Let's just watch that instead of me trying to describe it, and I'll just comment on it. I think he does a pretty good job, and he's a little bit more authoritative about it than I am.
A lot of skirmish games give each character 2 actions per turn. They usually get to make a move, or 2 moves, or a move, and then they can attack. The Doomed, every character gets 3 actions per turn. But that isn't the big innovation. The biggest innovation is doing away with measurements in this game. You see, you don't need a tape measure to play the Doomed. Movement works by drawing a straight line, pointing to a target in a flat area where you want your miniature to move. If there's no intervening terrain, they can simply go there regardless of the length. But it's recommended that you break the map up enough so that it isn't such a crazy length. They shouldn't be moving more than, let's say, 8 inches, 10 inches, something like that anyway. And movement can also be used to climb a story, leap small gaps, hop down. I remember playing old school Necromunda and sort of having to leave markers on the ladders to measure how far up a ladder a miniature had climbed. Obviously, you couldn't leave the miniature on the ladder. Any sort of war game where you're grinding away 6 inches at a time, if you're playing squats 4 inches at a time, that isn't particularly cinematic or fun. I can't think of too many action films where they show a character sort of running, and then he doesn't quite get to where he needs to get to fire off a shot, so they cut away to see what the villain is doing, come back, the hero runs a little more, oh, now he's there. It's far more interesting to sort of have the characters either get over the obstacle they need to hop over so they can make the shot, or this turn they don't. They're winded, or they're distracted, or they're caught up on something in the terrain. They decide better to hunker down. I really, really enjoy this. And also with firing, I think it's brilliant too. You don't need to measure range. You're playing on smaller maps to begin with. Most of the time, I think in the climaxes, they do recommend like a 4x4 board, which is the campaign finale. But otherwise, in 99% of the games, they say 3x3. And I think in this demo that we're watching, Chris here is only playing on a 2x2. But sci-fi weapons should have more range than you see in the 40K universe. I'm also one of those people where that's always driven me nuts. Well, super far into the future, laser beams can only travel half a football field away at the most, and most of them only go like a block. In this game, as long as you have line of sight, shoot a target. There is a cover penalty if you can't see their torso, all of their torso, legs and head. If there is some intervening terrain, you just get a -1. Pretty simple. Not all different kinds of terrain. No extra armor saves or anything like that to complicate matters.
Every unit only has 1 stat. That's right, 1. They have it's called a quality die. Your leader is 3. Their lieutenants are 4, and then sort of the base initiates are level 5. What that means is your leader succeeds on most things on a roll of 3 up. Now, there are modifiers. There are traits that let you re-roll things, so it's not quite that simple. It's got a level of complexity that's actually quite satisfying. As streamlined as the game is, I feel like there's a lot of fun tactical options as far as building forces, constructing forces.
Know when a character is hit in this game, they roll saves. Depending on what type of an attack that is, they may have an advantage on that or not. If they fail a save roll, they roll on the shock table. If they roll doubles, they're just out of there. They're taken out of this battle. There are some very bad results on the shock table. You want to roll high. Then they're down. Unsaved rules mean they're down, and the only thing that character can do is take a recovery test if they haven't gone already this round. May need to wait until the next round. If they're attacked again, they're out. Now, it works a little differently with the horror. The horror you can put down, but until you destroy their 3 nexuses, these things that are sort of keeping them in this dimension, keeping them bound to our reality, they don't go out of the game. So all you can do is knock them down. And you might say, well, what's the point? Maybe I'll just destroy the nexus. No, there's definitely an incentive to keep the monster down, because again, down characters can only recover. So as long as the horror is down, he's out of your way, and he's not launching all the variety of attacks that he could otherwise. So there's a lot of incentive on keeping sort of your attack-heavy, your offense-heavy characters on top of the horror, and while maybe other characters who are a little more nimble work around their way and take out the nexuses. Although the nexuses are all very different with the different horrors, so they're not all these stationary things. Sometimes the nexus just is the horror, it's something on their body. No, like I said, I've only played this game twice, so I can't give you a ton of in-depth review. I can only give you my first impression, but it's a very favorable one. I really did have a good time with this, and I look forward to playing this a lot more. This is my new favorite game in my collection, for sure.
Once you build a warband, you're not married to it. Every game you can create a new one, so if you're a tactical guy, I think there's a lot here for you. But even better than the sort of combat rules, there's a really fun, fleshed-out campaign system involving sort of the oncoming apocalypse and sort of staving that off. As far as advancing your units go, there's rules for veterans. They get to advance in certain ways that new units don't. There's weapons and gear that you can get through winning battles, so winning battles aren't meaningless like in games like 40K. You know me, I'm always griping that a lot of these skirmish games, there's not really much point to the battles, which doesn't make the campaign very interesting. Well, in this case, every victory does matter. It does start to snowball. There is a point to these battles. What exactly is this game? Well, this game is a post-apocalyptic skirmish game, a small number of figures, max number of 8 on each side, but I think you're probably going to play with around 4 or 5 miniatures per side in a typical game. Additionally, most scenarios involve something called a horror. Your horrors are sort of a resource that you want to hunt, but they're also hunting you. They're these very powerful beings, but once you kill them, they'll yield drops. You've played enough World of Warcraft or video games where you can get certain items from killing these monsters. Well, once you kill them, you're guaranteed to have those if you're willing to pay for them. You can just sort of refine them from the destroyed monster. And that applies to winning combat scenarios also. They have what's called conflict. Typical scenario, you'll have a monster and a conflict. So the two forces have different objectives. One might be an attacker, one's a defender. Maybe you're defending a generator. If you destroy the generator or defend the generator, you can also get additional things from that. So again, every battle means something, which is something I appreciate a lot. The 4 factions are all very interesting. We've got the Inheritor Courts, which are sort of the remnants of law and order on this world. What remains of the royalty and the military, and got sort of a medieval feel, and their tactical strengths are sort of organization and discipline and training and order, and that comes across in the way they play. The next group we're given is the Martyrs. The Martyrs blame the end times on their humanity, and they're transforming themselves into cyborgs and robots, full conversion cyborgs, which is where the consciousness is all that's left, and that's sort of their goal. To me, the impression I get is that they're sort of a machine cult, and they're very cool. Their thing is advanced technology, obviously, but also they're kind of unstoppable. I think the Necrons in 40K or the Terminator beat on them, but they're just going to get back up because no living organs. The third group we're given is the Reborn, and they've essentially, I won't say they've aligned themselves with the horror, but they have sort of become like the horrors. As the world has changed, as these Lovecraftian horrors have taken over, the landscape has changed, the world's become corrupt, and with it, some of the people have also, and they've sort of embraced this. And so they're mutants and monsters. That's the only way that you can really describe them, and they can sort of shapeshift. Vicious, they have claws, bestial skills and things like that. And lastly, we have the Exiles, which are aliens who've come to this world. They're either banished to this world as a form of punishment, or they've come here specifically to hunt the horrors. They're also very melee-focused, a lot of them, but there's also a little bit of psionics. I would say they're probably the most balanced of the 4 forces. They kind of dip. Obviously, they have technology, too. And so if you kind of want a little bit of everything, they're a little bit like the miscellaneous category. Overall, I think this book's a really great buy. It's only $35 for a glossy hardback. It's 175 pages. It's got 2 bookmarks. It's full of really nice art. It's full of really cool pictures of custom-made miniatures for the game. A couple of critiques about the production, and the author, Chris McDowell, has admitted this himself. The book could have used one more pass with a proofreader. There's a couple of errors in there. I don't want to let that dissuade you from buying it. I think you can intuit what's meant to be meant there, as well as the fact that there's a lot of places where you can go to get corrections. There's examples of play online. There's a group on Facebook. I'm going to put links for all this stuff in the description below, where the author will answer any questions you might have about confusing language. I'm sure there'll be an errata or an FAQ up very soon. Seems to be a lot of support for this game, so I wouldn't let that dissuade you. And I think, $35 for a self-contained game. The author said there's not going to be a sequel to this. There's not going to be additional material, but you do not need it because there are 36 scenarios which can be played with alternate versions. So effectively, there's 72 right there, and then there's 36 monsters. And when you mix and match, I mean, it's just sort of an infinite variety of options there. You can really stay busy with this playing the campaign out. The campaign has a couple of tracks that you can get down the road on, so there's different endings. There's lots of alternative ways for the campaign to end. I'm not going to go into it. I don't want to go into it too depth. I'm not going to do a page-by-page, guys. Just sort of giving this a big thumbs up. I want to say it's a lot of fun. The system really works. I think it's really satisfying. Just a big thumbs up, miniature mashup, seal of approval on The Doomed by Chris McDowell. If you like this channel and like to support it, please like and subscribe. Hit that bell so you don't miss any future videos. I've got an eBay store where I sell all kinds of miniature stuff, graphic novels, RPG stuff. Why not check it out? Got a GoFundMe in the description as well. If you'd like to see miniatures we've done in the past or pictures of them or say hi to the community, why not come over to the Miniature Mashup Facebook page? We'd love to have you. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.